There's quite a few lessons that you could learn from one of the biggest brands in the world, and I actually worked for them when I was a 17-year-old in Southern California. The brand was Disneyland, and I went through the entire process of being onboarded, and I learned quite a bit. So today I thought I'd share some of the key branding lessons that I learned as an employee of Disneyland and how you can apply them to your business as well. I'm Mark de Grasse, and I am the founder of the AI Branding Academy. And here at the Academy, what we like to do is break down brands, find out how they work, and then give you tools and lessons to help you put them in place yourself. Today, I'm going to be talking about Disneyland because honestly, it was one of my better jobs. I never actually had a job for more than 3 years at a time. I always had small businesses in between those. And essentially, what I try to do is take the lessons that I learned at the job and try to apply them to my new business. One of those jobs was actually as an outdoor vendor at Disneyland. I think I was 17 at the time. Maybe I think I was going to be 18 soon, or I may have turned 18 while I was there, but I was pretty young. It was one of my first jobs since I started working when I was 15, and it was actually one of the good ones. The management was easy. The hours were just plentiful. Whenever you wanted to work, you could work, and they were very flexible. I actually worked in a bunch of different positions as well because they let you pick up anywhere, and their procedures were so so put in place so well that I could actually pick up positions at a whole bunch of different jobs throughout the park whenever I wanted and be trained within minutes in order to do that. Now, what this reflects is not just, hey, wow, they have a smooth running operation, which they definitely did. But it really highlighted how branding was actually input into the hiring process to make sure that they had the right people in the first place. Now, you might be saying, hey, what does branding have to do with hiring, HR, or operations general? It has quite a bit, because when you have a vision for your business and you have values and principles, you basically take those elements and apply them everywhere in your business in order to make it brand consistent. And that's exactly what Disneyland did. So the first lesson is vetting. It wasn't a very extreme vetting process. They did do multiple interviews. There were a lot of callbacks. There was a lot of assessments. But at the end of the day, it's pretty obvious why. The employees definitely had a similar mindset. They were excited about the positions, and the vetting process obviously weeded out anybody who wouldn't fit, what they wanted within the park. And this is really important for all businesses to consider, because the customers are going to be dealing with these employees all the time. But beyond that, if you have an employee that hasn't been vetted properly, maybe has the wrong mindset, you're going to have management issues. You might have theft issues. You might have a whole bunch of different situations occur simply because they weren't a good fit for the position they were put in. So number one is Disney knows how to vet. They get people not just based on qualifications, but also on attitude and other factors that go into the experience you have at Disneyland. Number two is the importance of onboarding. When I started, I don't remember if it was 1 week or two, but I went to, I'm going to call it Disney Academy. I don't know what it's called, but it's basically an intense 40-hour work week at the minimum. It may have been 2 weeks. I don't quite remember. But it was pretty intense. It was full time. You were paid for the entire time, but you were expected to show up. And we went through essentially like a executive summit, if you want to look at it like that, where it had training, but it was also group work. It was socializing with other people. It was a really intense workshop, you could call it. And all that was just not even training for the position I was going to do. That was just training for how to be a Disney employee. What terms to use. They had terms like backstage when they were talking about, going behind the scenes. And they definitely had this entertainment customer first perspective that they just drilled into our heads. And it was just nonstop for them at the time. So the onboarding process was not a simple like, hey, let's just get you to work and you'll learn along the way. No, they paid you full time in order to sit there and learn about the culture and learn about the business. So lesson number two, your onboarding process. Don't skip it, and don't think that somebody's going to be really productive or a match for you want them to behave if you haven't taken the time to train them in the first place. All right, number three, I already touched on just a little bit, but that language, the fact that we used backstage, that we didn't call our customers, we call our customers guests, and there were quite a few of those. And the neat part was it wasn't something like, I have to, I work at Starbucks and I know that venti is wrong, but I'm going to call a large venti because because they tell me to. They all had functional aspects. They said, hey, this is what we're calling the customer as a guest because they are your guest. We want you to treat them as your guest. And just by using that simple terminology, they were really able to transform not just the experience for the customer, but the experience for the employee too, because we use these backstage again. I can't even help but use those terms because everybody just said it. And because they had such a culture fit with what they were doing, people said it when they were not working during the hours either. And most of the managers that ended up being the ones that I worked with had been in my position before they went to college, got a degree, and then came back to be managers in the same office. It was kind of crazy to me, but it was super effective. So all these people were basically, veterans of the company and of the culture, and just perpetuated it with everything that they did. And I think language is a big part of that. It makes you feel part of a community. It makes what you're doing sound unique and special, and it differentiates you from everybody else who doesn't use those terms, which is another component of what they tried to achieve with the employees at Disneyland. So that's just 3 lessons. I'll probably come out with another one of this as they come back to me. But just in terms of branding, those are the 3 I really felt like, wow, they put like the whole brand was ahead at the start of employment. It wasn't, hey, I'd been there for 3 years and now I really get it. It was like, no, you walk in the door with like so much information and so much preparedness that actually doing the job, which the job, it was semi-complicated. I walked around with a cart, but I had to do my own inventory. I was doing transactions by memory. Like, I didn't have a cash register or anything. And it was pretty involved, but I think that's something they knew I could do just based off the vetting that they did. So it was very impressive. But it all comes down to this onboarding process, and that's another thing with the academy that we like to tell people. Like, hey, it's not just about branding to look special. The logos and the fonts and the colors and all these different elements of the brand, but it's everything. It's every impression that you can make. And Disney understood this, and they've been doing it for a million years, which is why all their stuff is so consistent. So that's the lessons I learned. I'll probably come out with some more soon. But if you're interested in building a brand that really has the potential to become a thing, to become an entity by itself, that's why we made the AI Brand Academy. Come join us. We have a course called the How to Build Your Brand Pillars. And it really starts with these 9 pillars that you'll find on our website. And then you can just start building brands. It's going to be awesome. So good luck. Let me know how it goes.